After President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska, which notably did not secure a ceasefire, European leaders voiced cautious concern and doubled down on their commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and security. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, though speaking in a broader context, had emphasized that no agreement must bypass either Europe or Ukraine, underscoring that decisions of such magnitude must not exclude those most affected. Before discussing the comments from allies opposing the meeting and its outcome, President Trump himself criticized the backlash in a social media post, writing, "If I got Russia to give up Moscow as part of the deal, the fake news and their partner, the radical left Democrats, would still say I made a terrible mistake and a very bad deal. That's why they are the fake news. Also, they should talk about the 6 wars I just stopped. MAGA." European critics widely see Trump's pivot from immediate ceasefire demands toward a full peace agreement as aligning too closely with Putin's agenda and sidelining Ukraine. That unease is echoed in commentary that the shift favors Russia, with analysts warning that Putin appears to have gained diplomatic stature, while Trump withdrew from his earlier firm stance. Amid these dynamics, leaders across Europe reaffirmed their intent to remain central to the peace process and to stand alongside Kiev. Ursula von der Leyen, Emmanuel Macron, Giorgia Meloni, Mark Rutte and other European heads made clear that Ukraine must be included in any agreement and that Ukraine's interests cannot be sidelined, particularly on issues like security guarantees and territorial integrity. At the same time, European solidarity with Ukraine has grown even stronger since the Alaska summit. Germany, France, Italy, the UK, and other countries intensified their efforts to build a coalition of the willing in support of Ukraine, working to deepen military and defense cooperation and step up aid in light of the perceived risks emerging from the US-Russia dynamics. Amid concerns that Trump's posture during the summit granted Putin international legitimacy, some European voices called for strategic unity. The Guardian reported how European leaders underscored the need for robust NATO-style security guarantees for Ukraine, expressing alarm at the risk of territorial decisions being made in Washington without Kiev being involved. Simultaneously, France's Macron branded Russia as an aggressor and pledged that France and its allies were right to help Ukraine and sanction Russia 3 years ago, and to continue doing so, pointing out that if anyone was gambling with World War III, the name was Vladimir Putin. Today, ahead of the meeting between the Ukrainian president and European leaders with President Trump in Washington, they issued a strong statement condemning the course set by Trump and Putin. In Brussels today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen held a joint press briefing to underscore Europe's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and security ahead of Zelensky's high-stakes meeting with US President Donald Trump in Washington. Von der Leyen opened by stressing the depth of European support since the start of Russia's invasion. Since the beginning of Russia's brutal invasion, Europe has been at Ukraine's side, united, and we will support you for as long as it takes for just and lasting peace, and this peace must be achieved through strength. She outlined 3 key pillars of the EU's stance. First, she emphasized robust security guarantees. Ukraine must be able to uphold its sovereignty and its territorial integrity. There can be no limitations on Ukrainian armed forces, be it cooperation with or assistance from third countries. As I have often said, Ukraine must become a steel porcupine, indigestible for potential invaders. She welcomed Washington's signals on new defense commitments. We welcome President Trump's willingness to contribute to Article 5, like security guarantees for Ukraine, and the coalition of the willing, including the European Union, is ready to do its share. Von der Leyen linked these guarantees not only to NATO-style deterrence but also to Ukraine's future in the EU. We continue to support Ukraine's path to its membership in the European Union. This in itself is also a security guarantee. Second, she reaffirmed Europe's firm line on borders. International borders cannot be changed by force. These are decisions to be made by Ukraine and Ukraine alone, and they cannot be taken without Ukraine at the table. Finally, she stressed that sanctions remain central to EU policy. As long as the bloodshed in Ukraine continues, Europe will maintain diplomatic and in particular economic pressure on Russia. We have adopted 18 packages so far, and we are preparing the 19th to be forthcoming in early September. She noted that frozen Russian assets are already being mobilized for Ukraine's benefit, calling sanctions effective in pressuring Moscow's war economy. Zelensky, in turn, thanked the Commission for its continued support and stressed the importance of European unity. It's crucial that Europe is as united now as it was at the very beginning, in 2022, when the full-scale war began. This unity really helps to reach real peace, and it must stay strong. The Ukrainian president made clear that negotiations cannot proceed under fire. Putin has many demands, but we do not know all of them. It's impossible to go through them under the pressure of weapons. So, it is necessary to cease fire and work quickly on a final deal. He argued that talks should begin along the current front line, and reiterated Ukraine's constitutional prohibition against territorial concessions. The Constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land. Zelensky underlined that only a trilateral negotiation involving Kyiv, Washington, and Moscow could resolve the territorial question. Since the territorial issue is so important, it should be discussed only by the leaders of Ukraine and Russia, with the United States. So far, Russia gives no sign that such a trilateral will happen, and if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow. On security guarantees, he welcomed U.S. engagement but demanded clarity. We need security to work in practice like Article 5 of NATO. We consider EU accession to be part of these guarantees. There can be no division between Ukraine and Moldova. That would simply mean Europe is divided. He also highlighted practical cooperation with the EU on defense production, particularly drones, and called for further sanctions. We need to prepare the 19th package so that Russia sees that we are serious. We understand Russia's strategic direction. It is anti-European, and so we must continue to limit Russia's potential. The president closed with a reminder of the war's human cost. Finally, we talked about the support of Ukrainian children. We have a school meal program that ensures children from every family in wartime at least receive a hot meal. It is our children, it is our future, everything for them. Both leaders were asked about President Trump's recent claim that there is no need for a ceasefire before peace talks. Von der Leyen downplayed terminology. It's not the term itself, it's the content that matters. The effect must be to stop the killing. Zelensky agreed, recalling early U.S. proposals. From the very beginning, I think it was March, when the U.S. president proposed a ceasefire as a first element, stopping killing, and we supported him. Now we need the correct steps to lasting peace, not a pause, but a real stop. As Zelensky travels to Washington with von der Leyen and other European leaders, both made clear that Europe will not allow Moscow to dictate terms. As von der Leyen concluded, only Ukraine can choose its own destiny, but Ukraine can always count on Europe. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. As an independent channel, we don't have corporate backing. We rely on your support to keep going. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. It really helps more people find our work. Thank you so much for being part of our community. Check out the next video on your screen. We picked it just for you.